This meeting was appropriately advertised by notifying the retrospect, as well as posting notices in Borough Hall, the Renwick Post Office, Maryville School, A-Line Bing School, and the Grace Downing School. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call of board members.
Angel Beebe. Here. Naomi Davidson.
Here.
Amy Farley. Here. Colleen Firth. Absent. Maria Panzarelli. Here. Patricia Smith. Here. Samantha Spalding. Absent. Lynn Trillo. Here. And John Wark. Absent. 6 are present, 3 are absent.
Also present, Dr. Nancy Ward, superintendent of our schools. Joanne Augustine, our business administrator. Ms. Marie Gallagher, our principal of Bingham and Downing Schools. Mr. Robert Monroe, Mr. Monroe is here. He's our assistant principal at Maryville School. Mrs. Janet Viola, our child study team coordinator. And Mr. Butch Bruno, our new maintenance supervisor. Now we would like to have approval of our minutes for our regular meeting from January 25th, 2012, and also our executive minutes from January 25th, 2012.
I make a motion to approve the regular minutes and executive minutes from January 2012.
Motion by Patty, seconded by Angel. Roll call of board members. Gotcha.
Angel Beebe. Naomi Davidson.
Yes.
Amy Farley.
Yes.
Maria Panzarella.
Yes.
Patricia Smith.
Yes.
Lynn Trillo.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Correspondence, you'll see there's a correspondence from the RYAA. There's also correspondence from our Office of the County Clerk, and thank you note from our Downing School teacher for her tuition reimbursement. I think that was passed around. Did you get a chance to see that? Sorry. Okay. Thank you. We will move to open public comments. Open public comments on agenda items only. The board president will recognize those individuals who would comment on any action item on this agenda. Please respect the following procedures. Be recognized by the board president. State your full name and address. Identify the resolution or the item number that you wish to make a comment on. Wait to be recognized to make your comment. And please limit your comments to the specific resolution or items. And lastly, we're going to ask that each person would take 3 minutes per person. Is there anyone that has a comment or question on an agenda item tonight? Yes.
John Schmidt, 1 West Thompson Avenue, Gloucester City. Discuss the regular minutes from January 25th / executive minutes from January 25th, 2012. I had asked, when you went into your last executive session, you stated litigation. As you know, I had said something to the solicitor of the district. He did not, he won't give any more detail than litigation. That's a very broad term, the word litigation. After, when you recessed to go in, I had said at the time to the board president what type of litigation. She told me it was a possible, a potential lawsuit they were discussing, a litigation matter. Now, why you wouldn't say, a potential lawsuit, in the event hopefully you can give some description, but at least say, we're discussing potential litigation, relating to whatever, student matter, an employee, whatever that may be. But just to say litigation, the courts have said that is not enough. So I would just ask that the board make sure, move forward, as specific as they can be. The terms personnel, the terms litigation are not specific enough. And I would just ask in the future that the board remembers that.
Thank you, Mr. Smith, for your comments. We will,
Additionally, I see this, is this a new policy?
that is a policy that the board has. It's our policy.
I do have one question. Persons having legitimate interest in the actions of the board. That's kind of a broad language. It could go either way. If a person wants to come here and ask any question, maybe it's a government question they want to ask, maybe it has nothing to do with the business of this board. You're saying that they can't speak. I would ask that maybe you go back and look at this language, because I'm not sure if this language really complies with the Open Public Meetings Act, which allows anyone to speak on any matter they may choose in front of a government body in the state of New Jersey. Can I ask real quick when this was put into effect?
The board passed the bylaws in September 2009.
Okay. Maybe whatever committee is in charge of that can go back and make this a little more open to comply with the spirit of the law, because I think it's a little restrictive as it reads. I'm not sure why it would even say who's allowed to speak. Anyone in the state of New Jersey can speak at any public meeting they want.
Thank you, Mr. Smith, for your comments.
So-
We will definitely take that into consideration. Is there anybody else that has a comment or question on an agenda item? Yes, sir?
My name is BoardMeeting2-22 West First Avenue, right here in Runnymede. The curriculum writing project, it says it's funded under Title 2A. Could you maybe give me a brief explanation of how they determine the hourly rate? And is this completely funded by the state, or is this part of the school board's money that went towards this $17,700?
Title 2A is part of the NCLD grant, so it is actually funded by the federal government, and it is, the curriculum writing is to be in compliance with New Jersey and federal requirement to meet the Common Core standards. So we are required by September of 2012 to have a curriculum that is compliant with the Common Core standards of the state of New Jersey. The curriculum writing rate is contractual, that is what is in the REA contract.
And how does that go above to get approved? Is that this board here that does that?
The full board approves the contract with the bargaining unit.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that has a comment or a question on an agenda item at this time? Yes.
Michelle Weaver, 17th Avenue, Miami. I just wanted to comment on the RYOAA regarding the facility. I apologize, I was just
I'm in the board meeting.
through
What
there
do you
to see
need?
where that was attached, but I understand that there's.
The board has that letter. Pardon me? The board has that letter.
Okay.
They are.
Asking
They are.
for the facilities.
Yes.
I guess that's what I would like to say.
Send them in the back, Jim.
In my opinion, as a resident in Athens, I feel like it's a double dip being charged to the facility. And I'm not sure, I guess, what the extent of the charges are going to be. From what I understand, it's going to be $10 a game. No?
It was never $10 a game. It was only ever $10 an event. So every night that RYA is here, there had been a charge according to the facility use policy.
Right.
$10.
When you say an event, there could be 10 games, or is that considered
Per
10
night.
events?
Per night.
Per night.
Okay.
So
Not per
when
game.
it was calculated by the number of nights that RYA used the building, it was calculated at $10 for each night. It wasn't calculated for spring small side soccer, it was only calculated for, the board had waived every other potential fee that was on there.
I guess that I'm kind of hoping that the board would continue to wade through and just get rid of that altogether.
We have a policy in place that the policy committee reviewed that policy, and we have that tonight for the board to look at. It's on the agenda, so we will consider it. Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else that has a comment or a question?
No, no, that's that. When we say we're gonna discuss that tonight, is that gonna be voted
is that a discussion that we're all just gonna have? Or,
There is an agenda item to approve a policy revision based on a recommendation from the policy committee.
So we talked about RYA's letter, so what we're gonna do with that at that point in time, or did that have to be voted on?
The letter was expressed by RYA with an interest of waiving the fees. The policy committee then met, as they agreed to do, to revisit the policy and determine what they would do in reference to that letter, and they are making a recommendation tonight by way of a revised policy. Now, the board can choose to adopt the revised policy, can amend that revised policy, can table that revised policy. Those are all matters that are the board's questions.
Okay, so we'll deal with this letter when
You will deal with that in the policy. And that can be taken separately as opposed to taking it along with the other policies, because it's very likely to have more discussion than the other policies.
Anyone else? Yes, yes, sir.
Yes, Jim Barrett, 11 East 10th Avenue in Runnymede. I also wanted to speak on this as far as, I don't understand why RYA is being charged to use the gyms. A lot of other towns it's free. I don't understand why we want to choose our, charge our own kids that are using these schools, that go to these schools. You want to keep them off the street, but yet you want to charge them to use the facilities that they actually go to. I can understand you're charging outside school systems, but why would you want to charge your own kids? You want to keep the kids off the street, and you don't want to raise registrations and stuff like that, and people that can afford the registrations. Again, like the lady said here, I strongly suggest we look at it, because I know a lot of other towns do not even charge organizations for kids to use the school.
Thank you, Mr. Bear. We will be discussing that tonight. Thank you. Is there any other questions or comments on agenda items? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to reports. Those are your yellow packet for the board members.
Okay, district enrollment as of January 31st was 855 students, including 13 out of district, leaving 842 students in the district. The activities of the superintendent, I attended the textbook conference, including several excellent workshops and presentations on topics such as bringing more affordable technology into classrooms, iPads, and keeping pace with students in the digital age. Also, I've been conducting formal observations in classrooms throughout the district, and this is my favorite time of year. It gives me the opportunity to see instruction up close and personal. And what I'm seeing and hearing is really a source of pride, and I hope that as board members, I want you to know that you should be proud as well. Our teachers are implementing quality instruction through every classroom. They take ownership of the program and their students' learning, and they're using technology-infused curriculum, going above and beyond in preparation, follow-up, and professional growth. It really is a wonderful thing to see. Our teacher evaluation committee has seen 2 presentations regarding the implementation of the new teacher evaluation system that will be required by the Department of Education. We're still in the process of considering which will be best, keeping in mind the status of the mandate and the cost of the evaluation. We're watching to see if the state makes any other changes. Originally, they told us that it had to be implemented in September. The latest revision is that we have to pilot it in the beginning of the year and then start it in full force in January, and it will not really count toward the overall evaluation until the following year. We also hosted an in-service program for all teachers and instructional assistants on last Friday, the 17th, on the topic of social thinking. This process is based on the premise that we can explicitly teach children to think about the behavior they observe in others and change their own behavior based on the feedback they see and results they're looking for. We are in the process of developing plans to implement aspects of social thinking into the schools. We're excited about the potential that it brings for children who have difficulties with social behavior and communication, which is far more than just children who are considered special needs or have IEPs. We hosted a meeting with members of council, the property committee of the board, and administration to discuss traffic around the schools, and that report is attached. HIV, there was one reported incident at Bingham School. It was not found to be HIV, and that report is attached. Does anybody have any questions about the, my notes about the meeting with council, and would you like me to take a minute or two to summarize that?
Did you find it helpful and,
Well, I thought that it was good. I thought that it was a good meeting, and I think that we came to the appropriate resolution, and what we agreed upon was that the most important thing was to safely transfer students between adult supervisors. And the adults who are responsible for them within their school day are the teachers, and the adults who are responsible for them after their school day are their parents. So teachers, knowing that they are transferring students directly to the parents, was the priority. And we all agreed that was the safest decision to make. So we decided that we would continue to keep the same process that we have been using, and there was no need to change anything, because children being transferred safely between adults was the most important thing, and we felt that we did it well now. Thank you.
thank you. The school business administrator report, Joanne?
Thank you. My report includes my ongoing review of the budget to actual revenue and expenses. I reviewed the calendar year 2011 year-end reports that needed to be done. Also, a large part of my time has been spent in preparing our tentative 2012-13 budget for board approval and submission to the county. We're still awaiting our state aid figures after the governor's address yesterday, and preparing final expenditure reports for our IDEA fiscal year 2011. They prepared the new semi-quarterly cost report for the period of October through December 2011, preparing the extraordinary aid application, and I attended various county meetings and workshops and trainings for the DOE fiscal issues, and also my daily routine activities, which including preparing our agenda items, minutes, correspondence, monthly accounting processes, banking activities, and different claims for reimbursement, etc.
Were there any questions on the, Joanne's report?
What is this new semi-quarterly cost report?
It is a brand new report that we were required to submit by last Friday. There was trainings online as far as what they're trying to do is, the idea, from what I understand, is this is the first quarter. After 3 quarters have been completed in submitting our true costs for salaries that are related to the related services, for Medicaid-related services that are provided to the different students, that the hope is there'll be some additional funding, because what we actually get now from the semi-program is very small in comparison to our true costs. So that is the hope. It's the start of the process, and we had all the school districts were supposed to report on what's called a cash basis for the quarter, and it's my understanding come the end of the 4th quarter of reporting, it will be an accrual basis where you can catch any omissions that you made, or maybe you didn't pay something in the same month as the next month. And hopefully, after all that's been looked at and reviewed, there'll be some additional funding. So that's my hope.
Are there any additional questions? Okay. Seeing none, on the buildings and grounds supervisor report, is there any questions for Mr. Lerner? It looks like you've been very busy since you began with us.
You have no idea.
It's a lot of work, yes.
I do have a question, Mr. Greer. This vandalism in the school, is this during the school day? Mr. Energy is finding this happening?
It's the custodial pro at night is what reporting this item she is. And I can say that there's been nothing the last couple of days from our current calendar.
Oh, that's good. Thanks.
Attached are the principal's reports, the nurses' reports. Are there any questions on any of those reports? The nurses' report is also attached. Was there any questions on those? Any questions? special education report, Mrs. Fiolo, is there any questions on her report? Seeing none, is there a report on the PTA? Mrs. Wilson?
Low response issue, I think maybe because last year we didn't have our calendar day for watching our money and making sure that we were being fiscally responsible to our students. As you know, we had a great year last year. Letters have went out to our staff, all our teachers who have homerooms, to pick a theme for their baskets. They're all coming back with great ideas, and they now have a letter sent to the parents, so the parents will be getting the letters. And as you know, it's our biggest fundraiser. We had our father-daughter night, father-daughter princess, whichever you would like to call it. It was a great, great success. Everyone loved it. We had more comments from the fathers. We thank them for being wonderful. Sometimes they're much more patient than mothers. So it was great. There was not one complaint, not one glitch, not one thing that didn't. It went smoothly. I hope they received their pictures. We had someone volunteer to come and take their picture and just email it to them. So there was no cost, there was nothing, the whole night there was no cost. They even offered to pay for it. They commented how they never get to spend that time with their daughters, and now we're looking forward to doing something for the mothers and their sons, or whichever it may be, princes, I guess. That's in the big discussion, because what do they want, something fun? Because the boys want to come to the dance, or want to go to the city, or, that's our big discussion. You know, some moms want to have three-legged races and play soccer, and other moms want to have something like that. So we'll see where that goes. Other than that, our bingo is coming up this month for the kids.
What's the date for that, Mrs. Wilson?
23rd. We have bike donated, we have iPod donated, so we're getting some nice donations for that because, you know, we like to give the kids a nice night and then have our basket option separate for adults.
Wonderful, thank
So,
you. How many princesses were there at your evening? Did you have a?
we had 115.
Wow.
With the chaperones, then we had like 60.
Right.
So, I mean, it was nice. There was plenty of room for sitting, walking around. We had so much donated in just cookies and brownies and quick fixes. And even we had soda for the dads and juice boxes and water for the girls. And when the moms who were working, the couple that we had, said no, they were fine. They took their water and juice box and nice soda. So there was no anything where the kids, anybody was upset.
Good.
If there was, we know nothing about it. It was the smoothest night, the smoothest in my 29 years in PTA, it was the smoothest function that we had.
That's
So
wonderful.
hats off to the dads and the little girls.
Well, congratulations to you.
Congratulations.
Everybody.
I think
Helped
this
you.
year, what is wonderful, I think that I find in, you know, with all the new families and, you know, the younger families that I know, grandma here, that all these family nights are so good. It's a free event, you know, like the dad said, well, we would like to, we would rather have our basket auction and make, our goal this year, we made 7 last year, we'll make 10 this year. And that's what we want. We want the kids to have their trips and their fun nights and not have to pay every time you come out the door. If we can get that through the help and donations, that's our goal. And the other things that we sell, we don't push any of our sales. We don't have complaints. We don't say you have to sell. If you sell, you win a pizza party. Because that seemed to be then the teachers are bothered trying to get that they were pizza party. Everything I think that we have now is free to the families, and that's our goal, to help them out that way and make it at one big function. You know, having a raffle, chances are it might be a trip somewhere this year, so everything free, airfare. So that would be a good raffle. We hope is successful. You know, we're looking into that just about there, but we're not sure, so.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your.
Thank you.
I'll add something to that. I happen to be with a couple of the moms that ran that, or that helped run that function, and they were amazed at the amount of positive feedback they got via text message and emails thanking them for what they had done. So in other words, everybody in attendance had actually really enjoyed it, appreciated, and then let people know who did so much, how appreciated they were. So,
And we kept that number down, the people that could help, because you have too many helps, then you have more moms.
right.
So we could keep that limited to remembered it was tough. So it could be more that or.
Okay, moving along to committee reports. Do we have a Camden County Educational Service Commission report tonight? New Jersey School Boards Association, I have a quick report. The first item is an update for, as of February 15th, 337 schools in New Jersey have moved their school elections from April to November. There are 538 school districts. That means that 201 have not decided to participate. The second item is an update on the criminal background checks. Roughly over 5,000 school board members and charter school trustees underwent criminal background searches. Only 18 people were removed from office because of disqualifying criminal defense. Our entire board had to comply with the state of New Jersey's criminal background search, just like our teachers, administrators have to be employed. There was a new law that went into effect, and all of our board members are currently within the law and have done all of our next, we have Black Horse Pike report. I think Colleen's not here tonight. A curriculum report? The curriculum meeting?
Actually, do you want to speak on Black Horse Pike?
Basically, we're where you are, so it's a budget.
Finance? Policy, public relations? Lynn, would you like to report on our policy?
Policy Committee met on February 7th at the school. Present there were Amy Levy, Naomi Davidson, Pat Smith, myself, and Nancy Ward. The 5 policies that we reviewed are in your packet for first reading approval. Policy number 2110, philosophy of education and district mission statements, and policy 2446, the needless labeling of students with disabilities. They were accepted by the committee with no changes. Most of the policies we looked at were mandated policies from the state of New Jersey, so there wasn't a lot of parameters or ways to move and change anything. But those 2 are as read as they stand as read. Policy number 1140, the affirmative action program. This particular policy was just an overview of our current policy, and our detailed policy is already in place. Policy number 5111 is eligibility of resident/non-resident pupils. This policy was accepted by the committee with the addition of the 2 optional statements which discuss children who anticipate moving to or from our district and children of district employees. And these options, again, are listed in the packet. We recommend that those 2 options are to be added to our board policy. Finally, policy number 7510, the use of facilities, which took probably the majority of our committee meeting to discuss. This policy was reviewed by the committee after a written request dated February 3rd, 2012, was received by this committee on February 7th from the RYAA. The letter of request is actually twofold. The first being to change the policy to exempt the RYAA from fees in the future, and number 2, to waive all charges billed to the RYAA for the 2011-2012 season. The committee received information for the RYAA's current budget from Mrs. Panzarella. It showed that the funds are in place to pay the current use of facility fees for this year. We also received calculations from Ms. Augustine, our business administrator, on the cost of utilities, gas, and electric for the use of Voltz's gym and the all-purpose room. It's estimated that the RYAA pays approximately 1/3 of the cost of the electric and heat for the use of Voltz's gym and the APR for Saturdays only. I don't believe we discussed Wednesdays. I think that wasn't part of the formula. I couldn't remember. It was just the Saturday time. So Wednesday evenings, the facility is actually being used free of charge. The committee felt that a compromise was in order and is recommending that the Board of Education reduce the fee schedule in the Type A category, which the RYAA falls, by 50% and charge no fees for the use of the athletic fields when they have spring soccer for the Type A category again. Type B and C fees were to remain the same. We added to the language of the regulation section that the fees can be waived if a written request comes from a person in a position of authority from an organization before the first day of the start of that particular date that they request the use of facilities. Excuse me. Now, I noticed, Nancy, in the first reading, that the word written was not in that particular regulation, so that needs to be, I know we had talked about being written. The committee felt discussion and a vote was needed by the full board to waive the charges that the RYAA has incurred for this 2011-2012.
I have questions. The first one is, am I understanding that, first of all, am I understanding that we're gonna vote on this as a board?
If we have a correspondence asking for us to waive a fee, then yes, we would have to vote on that.
Right, no, I meant to adopt this policy.
To adopt this policy, we would have to vote upon that policy.
Okay.
Yes.
So am I understanding that, for this season, the one that we're currently asking for, I'm sorry, I'm speaking off the board now, I'm speaking on behalf of the RY. Am I understanding that we are going to be expected to pay the charges that we've incurred at $10 per use up until now?
That was a discussion in committee. We looked at your budget.
Correct.
We knew that the funds were there. We felt that last year when the funds were waived, it was with the understanding that the RYA knew that the fees would be charged for this school year.
Correct.
And that was understood.
Right.
It was in the contract, it was on the website, everything was in line.
Right.
So we just felt that, since that was understood, that those fees should be paid.
Okay.
And then we're going to work towards reducing them.
Right.
by 50%.
Now, understand that the reason for the correspondence asking for them to be waived comes from the community members who got wind of the fact that we were being charged at all, which our treasurer worked very hard on a budget. Yes, we did include the fees in there, so on and so forth. However, and my letter indicates that, or our letter indicates that, in today's economic times, that money could be applied in a much better place than paying the board of, the school district, in this case and going forward. So yes, the money, and I have a copy of the budget with me, was there in the budget and is available to pay. However, I still request that those be waived and the money be applied, in a much more appropriate and needed place right now. So, now, my next question is, what's that? The policy as a whole. So you're telling me that if I request, if the RYAA requests the gym for next year, as long as we put it in writing ahead of time, that the fees will be waived? Is that the next thing I understand?
It would be considered.
Right.
It's at the discretion of the
Right.
superintendent.
I would think that if we get this part of the policy, that we should probably kind of revisit our wording.
I know that we missed the whole thing.
Once we get there to that point, and then we'll probably also have to vote on the RY letter as well.
We're not voting on the RY letter. The RY letter triggered policy committee to review the policy. The only actual action item of the Board of Education this evening would be to approve, not approve, or table the policy to revisit again for different language. So that's what we'll do tonight for that policy.
You don't have it on the agenda to waive it or not? Just like the letter. Until we have the response to our point.
Based off the correspondence of the letter, we don't have it on the agenda?
The response to correspondence was to revisit the policy. So if the majority of the board doesn't believe that this policy is what they want, then your vote for the policy would be no.
Correct.
And then we would be revisiting it.
So there are two, I understand there are two separate issues.
Right.
So the issue, like the first issue that triggered the policy was the question, they were requesting the fee to be waived, not just the policy to be changed, correct?
Correct. Yes.
So on the agenda tonight, do we not have to have that letter addressed?
The way that the letter was addressed was by revisiting the policy. The board has a policy.
No, I
And
understand
so
that.
then the board, so the board, right, do you have to address the letter and say?
Because wasn't it a two-part thing, the policy number one, the fee number two? So we as a board didn't address the issue of the fee
Right,
on tonight's agenda.
not as a specific action item.
Okay.
Should it be? It could be, an action item can be placed on the agenda by a board member. Placed
I
on
placed it on
the
there.
agenda by a board member at any
It's
point in
without
time.
that, that's all.
So it
I have
would be-
another question.
It is
Hold on a
quite
second.
specific. I'm bringing it back to that one. We're also going to consider waiving all parties bill to us for this season. So it is actually asking for both. It's going to change the policy and ask to waive all parties bill to us for this season.
Can I ask a question about the cost of, when you say that it's 1/3 the cost of the electric, and I understand that it's Saturdays only, what's the total cost? Roughly?
Let's see.
I'll
Well,
hold
it
you
was,
to the
no,
penny.
no. It was, if I had my figures correct, Joanne went back through 2009 and 2010.
2 years.
Right,
Same
formulating
same
how,
period of time.
how much money was spent to put electric on and to heat the gym.
Wow.
Okay, and the all-purpose room, and then she filled out a formula.
Right, there's
Formulated.
an equation.
Exactly, and she came up, was it currently they owe $920?
They would owe $920 if they were to be billed for every day that they used
So far,
Okay.
every day so far,
it. No, every day total.
every day total.
For the season is what you're
Right,
giving
yeah,
us.
for the
that.
season.
Okay.
Of October
And what-
through March.
The cost I
For
had,
this season?
the cost for the 2009, 2010 averaged out almost $2,700. So they were paying a third.
Well, about 2,500 that went out the door, so we had to open up because people were literally ready to pass out in that gym. And I addressed it with the janitors and asked them if they could kindly turn it down. No, we did. We opened up doors. People were dying.
When was that?
Every day that we've had practice
No,
except for
but
the
when,
last.
I'm asking,
Oh.
this year?
Oh, yeah.
No, well, that's what I'm saying, these figures were based on the last 2 years, not this year's bills. Okay, so that's where the $2,700 figure
And
came
then
from.
my second question was policy 2110. That one was, is that one state mandated?
Yeah.
Is it really? That's what I thought, okay. We didn't add anything to that, right?
We included the mission statement, which was added, the
That's what I thought the cost was, I thought that's what it was. Okay, I assume that was your box.
So that was just a report. Finance met tonight as well. Would any member of the finance committee like to report on what we looked at tonight? I'd be happy to give a report if you're not comfortable.
I'd rather do.
Sure, not a problem. We developed preliminary budget figures, however, we do not have state aid figures yet. So we gave the finance committee a quick peek at a draft of the proposed budget in the event that our state aid remains stable. We will not know until probably tomorrow, and we will need to have another meeting in order to approve the budget before it's submitted to the county office. So we will be looking to get a date that works for everybody. Next Wednesday turned out not to be such a good date because it's the date of the founders dinner, PTA founders. So we are actually looking at possibly March 1st, 6 o'clock finance committee meeting, 7 o'clock board meeting to approve the budget.
March 1st, it's Thursday.
When does it go to county superintendent?
March 5th. So we basically have a week to turn it around. That's why we run some numbers now, so we had a good first whack at it.
Okay, is there anything for personnel? Are there any issues under old business? and transportation. That should be in the gold packet. Or yellow. Yellow.
It's no better.
You can take one more copy.
We need a motion to approve items number 1, 2, and 3, which are facility use, the field trips, and number 3 is the contract between Gloucester County Special Services. Who would like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Maria. Second motion. Second by Lynn. Roll call.
Angel Beebe?
Yes.
Naomi Davidson?
Yes.
Amy Farah?
Yes.
Maria Panzarella?
Yes.
Patricia Smith?
Yes.
And Lynn Terrell?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Moving on to personnel, we need a motion to approve items number 1 and 2.
I have a quick question. So with this curriculum writing, will that bring us to the other stuff we had earlier? Does that bring us current for everything?
It will bring us current for everything, that's our requirement.
Right, so we've now covered it.
We have covered it all.
And, number 2, which grade is she assist in?
Number 2 is a substitute for the after-school tutoring program called School Dancing.
And we've had her in years past?
She's a teacher in our school.
No, I mean, we've had the program though in years
Oh,
past.
it's Title I funded.
Okay. And, it's Title I, okay. How much did it cost last year, do we know?
Oh, goodness. I don't remember specifically.
Okay.
Somewhere around there. You approved it at the December board meeting.
But a lot of, how many children roughly go to that?
It's first, there's 2 groups of first graders in each building, a second grade group and a third grade group. Each group is about 5, but there's kids on Monday, Tuesday, and kids on Wednesday, Thursday, so 10 in each group, 4 groups, 40 kids, approximately 40 kids in each school.
So 80.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this specifically to help them with their math, with the New Jersey gas?
No.
No, or is this just
is
for their
like,
own need?
Every level.
To help with reading and math.
Any other questions? Need a motion to approve items number 1 and 2.
I make a motion to approve items 1 and 2.
Motion made by Maria, second
Seconded.
by Patty. Roll call?
Angel Beebe?
Yes.
Naomi Davidson?
Yes.
Amy Farah?
Yes.
Maria Panzarella?
Yes.
Patricia Smith?
Yes.
And Lynn Terrell?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Moving along to finance, that is our green packet for the board. We need a motion to approve items number 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's an addendum, number 5. This addendum is an application to, for Race to the Top 3. The minimum award is $10,600 per year. That would help to pay for the new teacher evaluation system that we, our state will need to implement. Were there any questions? Yes, sir?
We need a motion and second.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Hands on that one side for you.
I'll make a motion to approve numbers 1 through
I'm on the list.
5.
Yes. Before my time.
Yes, I
Yeah,
did.
make a motion to approve the originated line.
Motion by Lynn, second by
Second.
Amy. Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question for number 5, this application for this amount of money per year. Is this a full grant that comes to us? How does this grant?
Race to the Top 3 is a federal grant that was, that New Jersey won.
Right.
50% of it, they will use administratively for infrastructure within the state. 50% of it goes to the LEAs for a variety of different activities. I selected the new teacher evaluation system because that will be a financial burden on the district. It will be a mandate, so it just makes sense to use that money for a new mandate that will be a financial burden.
Is that going to fall within the budget of what this
Well,
teacher
this
evaluation
is the-
program is going to entail?
What they've done with this is they have put out to every district who receives Title I funds the opportunity to participate. And if every district participates, then this is the minimum of what we would get. If every district does not, then we will get more. So will it fall within, it may be a little bit more than that. However, we can also use other Title II-A money or Title I money to help with the funding. It's just that anytime you can get money to help with the new mandate, that's what you can get.
So to participate, what are we participating in?
We're participating in, I have to write a scope of work for this, which is what will we use the money for, teacher training, materials, online resources, those kinds of things. And that's the new, I think we talked about it before, but it's pretty complicated. New teacher evaluation system backs into a requirement by the state of New Jersey to tier our teachers according to their proficiency levels. And they also are looking for inputs and outputs, so rather than just observing a class or multiple classes, class periods, we are also to evaluate teachers based on their outputs or student scores on tests, their growth from year to year, those kinds of things.
Okay, another question under number 2, professional development workshops, where Mrs. Feldman, she's going to provide that emergency. She will pay for class ahead of time, will not what?
They wouldn't take a PO, it says it on the other side. That was more information than you needed for that. Yeah, they wouldn't take a PO, so the only way to do, some organizations won't take a purchase order.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Okay,
let
thank you.
it roll to the next page, and that's how
I
it
didn't
is.
see it.
Are there any other questions?
Do I pay for mine ahead of time and then it comes to the person? How do I put it?
No, they will accept the PO.
Yeah, they'll do a PO from school, so that's.
Are you gonna forward me that information in terms of when I take it, the first day or that?
No, it's a period of time that you can select whenever you want to do it, you just go online and do it.
Right, but what
So-
I'm saying is when I do,
You
is
want me
it
to
already
send-
in there that, you know, it's paid for, or do I have to?
There's no code, but I'll forward you.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Angel Beebe?
Yes.
Naomi Davidson?
Yes.
Amy Farah?
Yes.
Maria Panzarella? Patricia Smith? Lynn Terrell?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Curriculum, we need a motion to approve items number 1 and 2 for homebound instruction.
I make a motion to approve items 1 and 2.
Motion by Maria, seconded
I'm seconding.
by Patty. Roll call, 2 seconds.
Okay, second and third.
Angel Beebe? Naomi Davidson?
Yes.
Amy Farah?
Yes.
Maria Panzarella?
Yes.
Patricia Smith?
Yes.
Lynn Terrell?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
E, policies and public relations. How would we like to break this out?
Do it that we should approve policy number 3. And then 620 for second reading.
And then what would we do?
And then you take it separately. When you take it separately, you take a motion to approve it and a second, and then there's discussion, and then the vote is taken.
motion to approve the following recommendations of the superintendent. Policies for the first reading, revisions, number 1140, number 2110, number 2466, number 5111. Number 2, the following policy for the second reading, 6620, petty cash. And item number 3,
You might want to take this
separately.
separately so that you have some opportunity to discuss those dates as well. So that's all you're.
I need a motion to approve those followings.
Motion approved.
I second those.
Motion by Amy, second by Maria.
Angel Levy, Naomi Davidson,
Yes.
Amy Farr,
Yes.
Maria Panzarella,
Yes.
Patricia Smith,
Yes.
Samantha Spalding, oh, I'm sorry,
Okay.
Lynn Terrell.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay, next we will need a motion to approve the policy number 7510, use of facilities. I guess at this point we can discuss.
You want to take a motion and a second and then discussion occurs after that.
So we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve 7510 policy. Revision. I'll second the motion.
Motion by Patty, second by
I'll second the motion.
Lynn, thank you. Now we will open order for discussion.
I think I'll go first on this one.
I count one.
I was in our house meeting, as those of you know, and I did a little research after I left. What I did was, I went and I looked at every other school district. There's also a demographic factor group B, which means that they have the same, which is what we are. It means they have the same economic status that we have here. So I took a look at most of which I physically called. 2 I could not get a hold of. The 6 that I did get a hold of, or that I do have policy on, they all waive the fees for in-town organizations. Every single one.
Then we have trouble for electric.
With that being said, I really think that since they're in the same socioeconomic status that we're in, we should probably also do the same thing. I don't think that we should be charging for use of facilities for RYAA, PTA, or any other Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts. Anything that's located within the town should not be charged a facility to use a community building. It's not just the teachers and the school district's buildings, this is the taxpayers' building. And we need to use it for the community as well. So, after I left that meeting, I just did not feel comfortable, and I decided to do a little extra research, and that is what I came up with. So I would hope that, one, we could make a motion to waive all fees for RYAA, past and future, and also switch our policy to maybe coincide with no fee whatsoever for use of facilities for RY or any other local organization.
Thank you, Angel.
Thank you, Angel, for all your.
Patty, would you like to comment this time?
I think that with all of our discussions and that we came to agreement with the compromises, I just agreed with our policy that we would make that compromise. With the consideration of possible waivers in a timely fashion.
And I might also add that, I know that it only seems to be $996 on behalf of RY. But when you're looking at an $11 million budget, $996, it really isn't that much to waive off.
Makes me feel
Considering-
terrible for approving the door opener at Bingham, really. It makes me feel horrible that I voted to, and I get that, like, I am an advocate for everyone. But here I put the teachers, and the staff of Bingham, and agree and vote on that, and then, but we're gonna charge the kids to turn on the electric and the heat too high at Bowles. Okay, go figure. By the way, I will say proudly, that I stand behind everything you said. Everyone knows how I feel. Shame on anyone who doesn't feel that way. And the same letter was taken to the borough, and I think there's plenty of people here that were in that borough meeting that know that, the borough is actually considering it much more than the school board. Shame on you. So. Let's remember that we come from a small community where keeping the kids busy is our biggest priority. If we lived in the ghetto, the Police Athletic League and the Boys and Girls Club would do what the RY is doing for our kids. Let's all keep that in mind. We don't live in the ghetto. We live in a hard-working, terrible economic world of a middle-class Romney right now. Shame on all of you for thinking that way. I'm sorry. I'm very passionate about this, and it's turning my stomach and making me upset to even think about it. And I mean that with all my heart. Shame on me for voting yes to give the teachers a swipe when you won't give the kids what every parent in this room, and that's why they're all here, in case you don't realize that. Every parent in this room already is a taxpayer. They should be able to have their family reunion at the Bulls Gym if they want, and I've told all of them that. They're taxpayers. Take a look at the tax bill. Next time you get it, I think you all have after I recommended. Look at what you pay for school taxes, look at what you pay for municipal taxes. You can have, if Volts tells you the heat's too much, go to the borough and they'll probably let you in the Harry Williams building because you pay for that too. So, it's 1,000 for here, and then we, again, have been billed by the borough, which I've already addressed with them, and they were much more open to it than this room, so just throwing it out there.
We're having a discussion because it's on the table, so
Should
we
be on
need
the
to have
floor.
an open discussion, so
So
we need
in-
to hear from every board member.
So
Maybe
in
what are
order
your
to change
thoughts?
the policy, which is what we're voting on right now, is the policy, which we can
We have
fix,
options.
you know?
Boys at Friends.
I actually like the verbiage in this other school district's, the wording that they use. And I like how it says here that when an additional, and this would go for anyone, and I'm not just talking about the RY, where it would cover the cost for the school district, is when an additional cost is incurred by the school district, such cost will be passed on to the organization using the facilities and will be payable to the Lindblom Board of Education and submitted to the board secretary. That in itself is reasonable, I think, verbiage to protect us. I know that the PTA last year, we used the facilities on a Sunday, and we paid the overtime that was incurred to have a janitor in here on that day, and it was part of the fee that we had to pay to have it open, because we, had to account for that, which I felt was fair. It was a Sunday, and we don't budget for Sunday janitorial. So we had to have someone come in and we had to do that. And I think that that verbiage in there is definitely something that's positive for us to protect us, because then we don't have to explain ourselves later on to anyone. It is what it is. That's there.
I have a comment, because in our discussion, we didn't even have this.
No, I know.
We're just getting this.
No, I know,
We were
but I'm
all
saying,
And you wouldn't have it if someone didn't.
we can go back and, literally add something else in, or, not just to make it go away. I mean, we could add in the verbiage, nix RYAA from now and thereforth and on. I mean, it can say however politically, whatever we want it to say. But at the same time, I like the way that was said, because it actually gave an ending, a beginning and an ending of what accountability is.
So do you think that we need to go back as a policy committee and review these and then redo stuff and this on hold?
I think it needs, I would like to see it added in to eliminate this, because this is now an issue last year, and this is an issue again this year.
Well, we would have to, there's a policy to do it, we won't have enough people to vote, because some people will have to abstain.
No, we don't have to abstain, actually. I've done my research, and I feel shame on me for abstaining from all the votes. It is not unethical from now on for me to vote.
I wasn't sure.
I actually abstained out of respect for the board, and I've kind of lost a little bit of respect along the way, so I will no longer be abstaining from all my votes, and I have that right. So, I'm sorry.
I didn't know.
Yeah, no, I don't have to abstain, and I'm not going to.
So the reason why.
But-
So let's take a vote.
But what I was
Okay.
trying to say is, we as a board also, for instance, the verbiage is there, and I like the tier chart, and I like that because, remember when we had the organization, the basketball organization that wanted to use the gym and wanted us to waive the fee.
Shame on me for doing that.
And the majority of them are not Runnymede residents.
Correct.
So I definitely felt as though we made a good judgment call in that. Do you know what I mean? Well, because we protected our own.
Absolutely.
And at the same time, that allowed the gym to remain open for our own children,
Correct.
which is a plus.
Yes.
So I just think we need to add some verbiage to just make this so that it doesn't keep arising
And if you look,
every year.
We haven't heard from Lynn yet.
Well, I mean, my report, I think, basically says that.
if the board does want to take a look, some of the things that Amy's bringing up are actually things that I put arrows next to, because I also agree that that is good verbiage. I am not saying that RY can come in and destroy everything and it is what it is. I am not saying that by any means, nor am I saying that if we did need custodial staff for security here for some reason, that we would not incur a cost for that. I'm just saying for actual usage of the facility, there should not be a fee. That's why there are arrows and underlines across all of this. That I thought was good verbiage, just gives another policy throughout the West County.
I'll also add, Black Horse Bike Regional does not charge us for their gyms, and unfortunately, we can't use them instead of here because they have basketball teams as well. So, but they don't charge, they allow us to use their gyms free of charge all summer and up until and immediately after basketball season. Maybe we'll just change like when we play basketball, I think that's what we'll do.
So should we make a motion to?
Well, I would like to recommend as part of the policy committee that the rest of the board members come up with recommendations on verbiage for our policy, for us to go back through and listen to what you have to say in writing, in word, and go back through and tweak it. That's what you need to do. I mean, I think, Angel, this is an excellent example of, what you did to help. Sure, and I think you have to understand too, that the policies are set up to protect the district, to protect the Board of Education, to protect the children. And things can be waived if proper protocol is used to get in touch with the superintendent to let the superintendent discern whether she or he thinks that, recommendation to waive fees is a reasonable thing. But I think, I think we need to hear from, I'm upset that we don't have 3 people here tonight, because I was really hoping that the full board would be here to discuss this. It's important that the full board is here. So, if we could go back and please send forth your recommendations on how the verbiage of this policy can change, and we, the policy committee, can meet again, and certainly go back through and tweak it again. Does that sound reasonable to table this thing?
I think we should, table approval of this policy and recommend that we go back as a policy committee to revisit those wordage, and before we end tonight, maybe we could set up the next meeting so that we can do that. Just so the public knows, as, the school board has to have some type of policy in place. So the board has to have policies for just about everything that we do. So policy is a formality, and the board can choose to tweak it, to move things around, to move wordage around, but we all have to be in agreement in doing so. So we meet in committee so that we can, try to hack out things, and then we can bring our recommendations here, and then they have to be discussed and voted upon. And we want to do that in a respectful way so that we all have our opinions.
If I might just piggyback onto that, Naomi, it would be the reason why, to be honest with you, this could have been done ahead of time if I knew what was going to be discussed really heads on in policy. So just as a recommendation, would it be possible to receive whatever we're going to be looking at in policy maybe the day before, like it was for the finance committee? Just so we as board members and in that policy can just read it through real quick, so that way we can kind of get our brains thinking before we walk into that meeting. Would that be it?
That's fine. I thought that everyone on policy committee knew that we were gonna be visiting that policy, because that was discussed at the board.
It was, however, we do not have a copy of these policies on hand, so it would be kind of helpful.
The policy was online though.
remember we put them offline when we were discussing it.
I think what Angel's saying is much like me. She does her homework before she comes in. And she could have done a whole lot more homework prior to the policy meeting, avoiding the need to keep tabling it and the drama getting to the answer.
And we're going to figure together on how to cost these facilities and all that, when really just look at what other people's policies are in our district.
Thank you, Angel, we will.
So,
Just
yes.
a thought, thank you.
So we can make it.
Yeah, well, so are we tabling the request for the fees to be waived as well?
So do we have to recommendation from the request for whether that was.
Right now, the first thing right now is second, some words to approve the policy. So you take a vote.
We're gonna do it, from what I understand, we're making a motion now to table, item policy 7510, to table that, approving that policy in order to revisit and revise that policy. I make a motion that we table it.
Motion by
7510.
I'll second that motion.
seconded by Patty.
Angel Beebe,
Yes.
Naomi Davidson,
Yes.
Amy Farah,
Yes.
Maria Panzarella, Angel Smith,
Yes.
I don't think it needs revisiting, I'm sorry.
Lynn Terrell.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-1.
Okay. Moving along to public comments.
Wait, how do we do number three?
We have to do number 3, and if there is a member of the board that wishes to put a motion on the floor to waive the fee, this would be the good time to do it
I put a motion on the floor to waive the fee
for the 11-12 school year.
for this year and for every year thereafter. Well, since we're current, I'll say this year. Mm.
Okay, I'm just writing.
And the motion on the floor is to waive the fee for this.
Everything that we've been billed for, and everything that we're due to be billed for through the end of March.
Says-
We need a second. Second by Angel. We need a roll call vote.
Angel Beebe? Yes. Naomi Davidson?
Yes.
Amy Farah?
Yes.
Maria Panzarella?
Yes.
Angel Smith?
Yes.
Lynn Terrell?
I would just like to say thank you to my fellow board members. That are never here, I appreciate it. And all of you who volunteer as well, thank you very much.
Moving along to public comments on any item.
Number 3.
Oh, I'm so sorry. This is my first time, I'm sorry. Okay. Number 3, I will read it. Due to the change in date of the annual reorganization of the Board of Education, our regular meeting dates for the months of May through December 2012 must be set. The following dates are in alignment with the 4th Wednesday of the month, with noted exceptions, May 23rd, June 27th, July 25th. We are considering not holding a meeting in July, August 15th, and request to void the 4th week due to conflicts, September 26th, October 17th, November 28th, and November 19th, which is what I said. Sorry. December 19th. Is that something that we as a board want to approve tonight as our dates for our next, our meeting dates?
question that maybe probably doesn't even fall under this, but I'll ask it anyway. I think I was up in April 2013 because of the whole election. Does that mean now I'm here until maybe that would be the 9-month extension that you didn't
If you so choose.
sign up
Mrs.
for?
Cantorell, that-
If you
that
choose
is your-
to, you could,
I'm just throwing it out there.
you could resign.
Now
That is totally
if you want.
That's totally up to you.
Hold on, give a piece of paper I can pour.
That is not a hint.
If that is your cause.
So you're requesting to avoid the fourth week due to conflicts with that meeting?
That's August. We typically have a fourth Wednesday meeting,
Got it.
or third Wednesday meeting, and too many vacation conflicts. The thing that's on the table for consideration more than anything is whether to have a July meeting. And I recognize that it's a meeting that prior to my arrival here, we didn't have July meetings. I don't think we did the first year. The reason to have a July meeting is because if we get to the point where we're hiring staff, we don't want staff to slip away by not having a board meeting, because no one will resign from their current position if they do not have a commitment from this Board of Education. However, the board can say that if we get to the point where we do not need to hold that meeting, because we don't have any business that can't be held,
Then
we
you can
don't have to. Is that true?
I agree.
So we can save the date and post and advertise the date. And then in the event that it is not necessary because we don't need it to conduct business.
I say save the date.
We need a motion and a second, please. I'll make a motion to pass. Thank you, Lynn.
I second.
Motion made by Lynn, seconded by Maria. Thank you.
Okay, Angel Levy, Naomi Davidson,
Yes.
Amy Farah,
Yes.
Maria Panzarella,
Yes.
Tricia Smith,
Yes.
Lynn Terrell.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Public comments on any item, the audience recognition and public comment. The public is reminded that all public comments against a public employee must be named with specific grievance process. The description of this process may be found in the Board of Education policy number 0167. This policy is available upon request in the board office by the secretary. It's on the back table if anyone would like to take a copy. Any individual naming an employee in a complaint before the Board of Education without that employee's permission could be cited for violating that employee's civil and contractual rights. Are there any public comments? Yes, sir?
Jim Baird, 11 East 10th Avenue, Runnymede. No, I'm not a salesman, okay?
Okay.
But I think it's a disgrace when I go pick my kids up from school, okay? And it's mostly with the older kids that the dress policies are not enforced, okay? I'm watching kids go to school in their pajamas, pajama bottoms, sweatpants, slippers, and in the older ones, we're supposed to be raising, in the older schools, we're supposed to be raising young men and young women, okay, and preparing them for, as they get older in life and move on to the next level as far as college and jobs, as far as going to interviews and college interviews and job interviews. And these kids are dressing this way. Well, this is how we're preparing them how to dress when they go to a job interview or a college interview, because we're allowing this to happen. To me, it's laziness, and they're just gonna get lazier when they dress that way. I know as a parent, I have 5 kids, and I'm very tough on my kids what they dress and how they dress. Sometimes it's a losing battle when they want to wear 2 different color socks, and they try and tell me it's 2 different color sock day, so I have to agree with it. However, we do have dress code policies, and we don't follow them or enforce them. If we wouldn't allow kids to wear hats in school, why would we allow them to wear pajama bottoms? So I recommend for next year to possibly go into school uniforms, okay? I brought in a sample of what a couple of schools have done. This shirt, okay, which has a logo on it, is $11. Okay, this sweatshirt is $13. Okay, it's not expensive. especially when you see these little young girls walking around with Uggs on. And I couldn't believe the price of those after I saw my credit card statement. And they have iPods, iPhones, you name it. So it is affordable to a lot of these parents. It's just like I said, and with the pants, what do they call it, sagging, okay, where their underwear is showing, it is honestly just a disgrace. It really is. And like I said, respect is earned, not given. And I let my kids know that all the time. You want respect, you gotta earn it. You just don't get it. So like I said, I wish you guys would really strongly suggest a dress code or a uniform type thing to the kids.
Is there any other comments?
I've got some. Hi, Beverly Moore, 220 West First Avenue. I live right near Bingham School. I just want to kind of get a feel. I don't know if this kind of gets directed towards you because you're kind of like building and grounds. Are you guys responsible for the sidewalks and the amount of leaves that are like caught up in the fences? And there's a gigantic pine tree by Bingham School that has 16,000 pine cones that are now all over the sidewalk. I would think that that's like a safety issue as far as like keeping the grounds clean. I walk my dog on a regular basis. The amount of trash that's around the fence, that's around the perimeter of Bingham especially, is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's all caught up in the leaves. It just looks bad. It really does just look bad. Triton doesn't seem to really have that much of an issue, nor, I don't know if it's because they're the Black Horse Pike School District, and neither does Downey. It quite honestly seems to be here and at Bingham, because there was a 12-pack of light beer that sat on the playground out in the back here for 3 weeks before somebody finally picked it up. That's ridiculous. There's no reason that it should be like that. I'm sure you guys have building and grounds that maintain it. Litter's a big problem for me in this town, and I walk it every day, like 3 miles, and around the schools, it's ridiculous. The garbage cans overflow. If that's the town's responsibility, then the town should be notified that they need to be emptied on a more regular basis. There's no garbage can in front of Bingham. I don't understand why that is, because there is trash all up and down the front of the Bingham School in the gutter. If there was a garbage can, maybe we could try to eliminate that, maybe just a little bit. So I don't know if that's something you can address. I appreciate it, I really do, because I just think it looks bad. It really just looks bad. You're dropping the kids off in front of the school and there's just trash
You're absolutely right.
everywhere.
It is something I am addressing.
I appreciate that.
And there are dumpsters at all locations.
Absolutely. I mean, if, like I said, if the garbage cans in the front aren't getting emptied, then I'll address that to the town. Because those 2 garbage cans in front of Volts are just constantly overflowing. That, I don't know if that's something you guys, are you emptying those, or is that the town that's supposed to empty those?
What, the regular trash cans?
Yeah, those 2 garbage cans that are sitting out in front, by the parking lot, right in front of the school. There's 2 cement cans with.
One's right at the curb, the other one's here.
Right. Are they the town, or are they the school?
We generally try to take care of that.
Yeah.
But like I said, I noticed that's a problem.
It is.
And it's something that I have.
Well, I think a lot of people clean out their cars and stuff. So, I mean, you can't control the world, I get that, but it's just, I think it's a problem, and it should kind of be addressed with the janitorial guys and building and grounds. So, thanks.
Thank you, Mrs.
Yeah.
Moore. Thank you.
Oh, God.
Point four, I would just like to elaborate a little more on that. I truly believe that you folks believe that all children are able to learn, correct? All right. How about if we kind of start like a little program? If you see it on the ground, pick it up. Put little signs up. They love that. If they start picking up, we're going to create a new idea behind that people in this town have lost sight of respect for their properties, respect for anybody else's property, because they drive down the street, they just throw it out the window. I mean, it's the old thing from like the 60s. I'm showing my age. You know, it's like the pollution, neighborhood don't pollute, that kind of thing. Create something new in your school district. You start it. You be the new wave coming over. Rush over these kids. Take them by the hand. Say, look, you're walking out the door, you see a bottle of it, pick it up. There's the garbage can. Put it in, you know. I know they have monitors and stuff out there for like the kids. Say, hey, Johnny, pick it up, you know. There you go, right in the can. Put it right there, you know. And the younger you teach them, the more, they will do it. I have a little quick story. When my kid was 3 years old, a little boy, I walked by the garbage can, I lifted up the lid, I spit in it. Son of a gun. Every time he walked by the garbage can, he spit in it. That shows you how fast they can learn. So there you go. Do it with the garbage, and your school will be it, and that'll alleviate your problem of trying to stay ahead of it. All you have to do is empty the garbage cans out front. That's it.
Well, and I just comment, you know what's sad is it's the parents. It's not even the kids, it's the parents. I have proof of that. It's the parents. It's not the kids. I clean the gyms and the kids' side of the gym is spotless and the parents are lazy and messy and they don't know what garbage cans are. I just thought.
Doesn't high school have that new recycle program where they do
Yes.
the trash so the school is?
That's it. Runnymede a clean community, and that part of the clean
But the
community
adults aren't so much.
No, but I'm saying part of the clean community thing is education to
In the
teach
school.
recycling and garbage. That's part of it.
It's being
Yeah,
taught in
absolutely.
school, that's the
Wasn't
good
there a
part about it.
contest
It's
not
not
too long ago?
relative.
There was a contest where they did it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
someone
girl won,
from
yeah.
the school won.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think it was going to be put on a billboard or something.
It was supposed to be put on the side of the garbage. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's a
Or
whole
garbage
separate
truck.
issue for a whole nother
Yeah.
time.
That's a council
But yeah,
meeting story,
yeah,
yeah.
that's
Mrs. Ruth, did you have a question or
Yeah.
comment?
Tyler Root, 36 North Berlin. I just wanted to say about how the RY does work with the school and to really keep that in consideration at all times. The RY is very considerate of when a school has an event, whether it's their art show or this year they're going to have a play here for the first time. And the RY is aware of those things. They know not to schedule games and practices on those nights. And I just want to let you guys know to keep that in consideration. And, when you guys are doing things, that the RY does care about the district.
Absolutely.
Correct.
That's
So-
never a question, Mrs. Ruth.
Okay,
We've always worked very well, and we've always been appreciative of the cooperation between
And
the
they really
RA
try,
and the school district.
they
Absolutely.
want the kids to be out of trouble. So whether they're all at the art show, that's great. If they're all at the field, that's
And
great.
when we've had concerns about things happening around the school, we've addressed it with the people from RYAA, and they have stepped up their supervision, and they've done a better job of policing the area so that they
Right,
don't.
we all
lose
work
fence.
together.
Yeah, none of that has ever been a question. The beginning of the use of facilities fee was in the 2010 budget year, when this Board of Education was under pressure because of the fact that our budget had been cut so much, and they began to think of ways, like many other school districts considered, began to think of ways of generating some income to defray some of the costs, and that was a thought that was put out by the Board of Education. And so that, this facilities fee, this is the second full year that it was actually passed in 2010, in that difficult budget year. It was the year that we were cutting many things. We lost certain programs, we lost teachers that we've never replaced, we reduced our extracurriculars, we wound up where we used to have a coach and an assistant coach, we only have one coach now. So we trimmed quite a bit within the school itself. Then we were very fortunate to pass the budget, but we retained some of the same policies that we had had before. So revisiting the policy says, is it the policy that we should continue to have today based on our current circumstances, as opposed to the circumstances that we had when the policy was first put in place?
And I think that's what everyone here, just cares about. Like, we just have to have an open mind and keep, looking at it again. It's just not a closed book. So, and that's great.
Absolutely. It's a discussion. And the board is in a difficult position trying to hit just the right mark, because certainly, you're all here representing your children, and there are many members of the community whose children are not members of RYAA, yet the wear and tear of the building that the school district has to absorb is borne by every taxpayer, regardless of whether their children use the building or not. So the board's consideration, of course, must be for the children of the school, but also they're here to represent every taxpayer of the community. So that's the balance that they need to strike when they consider their policy.
If I should piggyback on that, my child has not played basketball.
And I'll throw it out so that there's people in the audience that don't have kids that play, you know, tennis sports.
So this by no means is because I have a child that plays basketball, plays any sports that we have. Our life facilities, this to me is a balance between children, taxpayers, public relations, community. That is what this is to me.
Yes. Hi, yes. I have a question. Hold there, everybody, send back. I just want to know, even if it's a round estimate, how much state and federal money the school district is getting for one special education student? Yes, per student.
It's hard to calculate that, we don't have a per student calculation.
This cost of special education varies by student because their IEPs vary so much. If they stay within the district, it's one price. If they're sent out of district, it's another price. If they require related services in their IEP, that's additional prices. If they require one-on-one aids, that's even more prices. So there is no one number.
Okay, so where would I find any kind of information about that?
As far as the cost for,
Yes.
the cost, you're asking for the cost of
Do you mean
the,
how much special ed aid do we get, Mrs. Barrett?
Yes, per student.
Okay, what I can't, we don't get it per student. We get it in a lump sum. So the state gives us the special education aid, and through the federal government, we get what's called IEBA aid. And I'd be happy to calculate those figures and get them to you.
Okay.
And then I can let you know the number of special education students we have in the district. And then, you know, you can use that. But as Mrs. Augustine points out, it's only gonna tell you how much we get and how many students we have. And
Okay.
you can figure that out.
Okay. Thank you. Yes. Mr. Smith?
Judge McMorro, Thompson Avenue, Gloucester City. Was going to address a few things tonight, but I really don't because the board president is not here. However, I listened to your discussion about the ROI, and I've been attending the meetings. I've been listening. I attend meetings throughout Camden County, mostly, some in Gloucester County, some in Atlantic, regarding school boards, regarding municipalities, and for groups that are within the town of that public entity. I have never seen a fee waiver been denied. It's always been approved. They've always said, you know what, we're waiving the fee. I would like to ask, is there a reason why, through the chair, is there a reason why a board member abstained on to waive the fee?
Because that's my right. As an American citizen, as a taxpayer of this town, it is my right, period. Thank you for your time.
Not done. Got 2 minutes left. I have observed this board, and I find it very, very concerning that a board member would need to take time to think how they're going to vote and abstain on waiving a fee, okay? When almost every other town waives a fee, and every other school board. I have my issues with the policy committee on something else. I think you're all aware of what that issue is. I think your chair of your policy committee drags her feet and refuses to think about common sense items. I really think
I really think you should be a little bit more discreet with your comments.
it's a public official, ma'am. It's a public official.
Okay.
It's not an employee. I think what the board does to reorganize, whenever that is, you might want to reconsider maybe looking at your policy committee, maybe making some appropriate changes for maybe people who might be more in line to listen to third-party opinions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schmidt. Are there any other questions or comments from the public at this time? Yes.
Jen Brown, Shermanton Lane. I had heard that there was a possibility of implementing our own lunch policy, like our lunch, to create our own lunches in the town. And as a parent, I would not give my children the lunches that are offered at school. I think they're horrible. And I didn't know if there was any progress being made towards providing our own lunches in-house.
Thank you, Mrs. Brown. there are a couple of possibilities for how to do that. We need a kitchen facility, as I'm sure you know. Right now, our current kitchen facilities are not suitable to cooking our own lunches.
But we are in the process.
But the board has considered two possibilities. One of them would be converting a classroom that currently has some of their, another one would be to build a kitchen. Neither of those are easy to do for a variety of reasons. It's costly to build a kitchen.
But we are, the property committee is
And the
actively
property committee
pursuing it.
has looked at that. The other thing regarding the conversion of the classroom is that we understand that there's possibility that there may be some building in the town. So if there's building in the town that's gonna impact the influx of children, we may not wanna reduce by a classroom. So we're sort of in between right now. But the property committee has seen some plans for conversion of a classroom and for building a kitchen.
I'd just like to
Yeah, that's.
say that I would be in favor of
And
that.
I think a lot of people would. We're hoping that the state comes through with some grant money so that whatever the burden is on the taxpayer, the state would bear the majority of that burden as opposed to it all being on the taxpayer, but.
And you go through the menu with your child and they just shake their head like this.
You're
You're packing 15 lunches a week.
We would love to be able to.
They don't, and the other thing, thank you for pointing that out, is that sometimes the children are not encouraged to take the healthy choices that come with the food. I don't know how the lunch aides go about giving them the food at the table, because I'll say to them, well, you had pizza, did you get a fruit cup with that? Well, I didn't take one. Did you get a salad? I didn't take one. Well, maybe, I don't know if they actually give them that food, or whether it's, you know, do you want a salad? Well, what kid's gonna actually really want it? But if it's put in front of them, they might eat it, so.
Right.
I don't know what the,
We have a new food service director, so we'll address those concerns with her.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
thank you.
Is there anyone else?
I actually have something back on the lunches. Both my boys have diabetes, and it's very important to me to know the carb counts of their lunches. And for some reason, that is still seems to be a hard answer from the lunch people. And I find that they, you know, I had actually surprised my son last week or a couple weeks ago and brought him in lunch and actually sat and ate lunch with him and his friends. And the kids were like, oh, we were supposed to have chicken nuggets today, and there was something else. And, you know, I think like that seems to be a big problem
Especially
with that, especially because I think they substituted with like a ham and cheese, which didn't look bad to be honest with you, but you know, some kids don't like ham or they can't eat that. So it just, I think that's an issue with that. And $2.55 now, you know, it's kind of getting to be a little much, I think.
We would love to not have to buy our lunches from somewhere else, because I agree
much
with
more
you.
cost effective to do it in-house.
I'm
Just
sure.
so you know, we lose money on our lunch program
I bet.
every year because we have to buy it from somebody else. So for 10 good reasons, we would love to be able to cook our own
And then,
lunches,
like, I think-
offer more healthy choices,
Right.
to be able to keep the prices down.
And to be able to tell you what you're eating, what it is and how much you're
I'm
eating,
concerned that you
calories
don't
and
know what
carbs.
your counts. So who are you trying to get that from again?
Well, you know, I did notice just on your last menu that the food service lady changed.
Okay.
And then the one before that, she just could never tell me. I think because, like I said, I really don't think they had a handle on what was being served every day. I think it really changed a lot. I unfortunately, I have my boys, I pack their lunch because I need to know what that carb count is.
And if you were aware of, you know, if you were figuring it out, if you purchased and a substitution
And
is made
substituted it.
in,
Right,
you know,
that's
business food space, it's a huge problem.
Sure it
Right.
is.
You know,
Sure it is.
it's actually a health issue at
Yeah.
that point. It's not only my kid doesn't like ham and cheese.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, we need to
Somebody's
know.
running lunch, that's what boys do.
Yeah,
Yeah, so if you
fortunately,
specific
your boys are
concerns,
conscious of
Jimmy,
it.
would you talk to Mrs. Director?
Okay.
The lunches have actually gotten better, because every couple of years, I will order lunch for a week, just to see if the kids are eating. Seriously, I do, and they have gotten better, like, they had salads last week, with dressing, that was actually really good, as little cups they were offering the kids. Now, I'm not sure about lunch, but I know for breakfast, they have to physically hand it to the kid, and if they don't want something, they have to give it back. But every child has to physically take whatever's for breakfast in front of them, they have to offer it to them and give them all of it. If they don't want it, they give it back, but I'm not sure about the lunch. But I know it's all laid out on the table and they go through and get everything.
Yes, there was a question back, sir.
Yeah, sure. Just talking about lunches, and something me and my wife always wondered was how you guys come with the breakdown of the cost of lunches and the reduced cost of lunches, because it kind of always baffled us looking at the broad price range, where you have free, then you have reduced at 40 cents, and you have lunch cost of $2.55, and you break that down per month. That's a big
Those are
thing.
set by the Department of Ag.
Does that have to be? I mean, because like, you know, someone could be, I don't know what the cutoff is. Let's say the cutoff is if you make 15 or 20,000, let's say 20,000 a year, you're paying 40 cents a lunch, and then 21,000 a year is paying $2.55. I just think it's too drastic, it's in my opinion.
That's not our,
It's not
that's,
our
we have no
thing.
control. Those prices are set by the USDA.
Yes. There was two, I saw two hands. Yes.
I just got a quick question. How come you don't get your lunches from Triton anymore?
Several years ago, we got our lunches from Triton, and they were using a food service at the time, Sodexo, and no one in the district was happy with the quality of the lunches. So we went to NutriServe, and we get our lunches from Belmar. Belmar they were a little better quality, and also the fact that they were a K-8 district, we were on the same type of schedule. So for instance, because we were getting our lunches from Triton, if it was a snow day where Triton closed, and Triton was more likely to close because they're bused by Gloucester Township, then we would have to cancel school because we would have no way to get lunches. So Belmar is a walking K-8 district, and we seem to be in a little more alignment with whether or not we open or close. So while we haven't had any snow days this year is an aberration. We usually do have some. But
March isn't over.
So they're not using a food service anymore. Mrs. Wilson?
I would like to keep track of that. Black Horse Pike Regional had one person from Sodexo who was a supervisor over all three schools. We used them for several years and found that our people who had been there for years and worked with Lucy, who was here, had come to the board because we were still in the red. Food service is a separate entity. That is not in your budget. Your budget has nothing to do with that. So your people are budgeted there, and a lot of people don't realize that. That has to make its own money, that has to run itself. We had our people, I have to say, I'm on the board, we're a very open board. We talk very openly with our workers, and they came to us because we kept being told, you're gonna have to privatize. Our people came to us who were running it, said we do all the paperwork, we do all the ordering, and that person is just a person there that's doing it. When we ordered food, they upped the price, that's how they make their money. So we went back to, this year was a trial year, which we have a lot of school districts who are watching us. We're trial, we went back to our own people who are making the food, ordering the food. We are not in the red yet. We are in the clear so far. We had a meeting with the county superintendent. She's very, very impressed with what we're doing. The kids, you can hear some of the high school kids, our food is much better. They're like, Mom's cooking the food and buying. They seem to be happy with it, but of course it is school food, so it's not all what the kids want. We were recommended to reach out to Runnymede, and I know that I had told Nancy, I told Joanne today, I was just talking to her on the side and said that they're gonna be notified to reach out to you for maybe doing food service through Black Horse Pike again, give them a chance, and maybe it'll work out to help our district out. But we never had a problem when they were coming here with the health department, with the heat of the food, with that of the food. You've changed a lot now. You have the serving trays here. It may really help out. And I know that the people at Triton, if you talk to any of them, they're very anxious to see that working with our district again. I know we're looking to build a kitchen and all that, but that's costly to the taxpayers. And once again, that takes care of itself, but you still have to take the money to build that kitchen and do all those improvements.
How much is lunch at Triton?
I think it's We have a lot of à la carte things that seem to be, it's like they started here to kind of make money on à la carte, which is something.
Right, now they can buy chips here and.
Your
a drink
districts
and
can
stuff.
do that themselves and then just get their food from there. So then your district makes the food from à la carte.
I just think based on what we had already discussed, that if we did do that, knowing the schedule in advance, you know, or come up with a plan B for snow days where it would be closed, it might be something to visit. Yeah, I mean, obviously.
But I mean, that's
it's in
between
years.
the board, and I know they're gonna ask the board president and the vice president to be there, so the boards are included on it. And it's more of an open conversation, because everybody cares about what the kids are doing,
Right.
but they don't want the district to be in the red like ours is, and that's a big thing. You know, because once you do privatize, they take it on and it's all theirs. But we, you know, we have our people who work, and we don't want people losing their jobs. So that's why we gave it a chance, and it seems to be working very well so far. I'm not saying we won't be in the red, but we, you know, at this point, the county is very happy with where we were.
We were waiting to see how that pilot year worked out.
Yeah.
We had talked about that a year ago, to say, watch and see, and maybe they would approach us if it all worked.
Thank you, Mrs. Weston. Yes, sir.
Does the board audio record their minutes or their meetings, excuse me?
No, we do not.
Has there ever been discussion of keeping an audio recording?
No, we have not.
I don't believe we have. I've never. I don't think.
That's something that the board could discuss. I know most boards do. That's easier.
I don't know that that's an accurate statement.
If people want to go back and listen to what was said, and, you know, easier to transcribe the minutes that way from the recording.
Now we can just.
You know, I know there's videos while you're meeting.
Just throwing it out there. I don't go on the blog, but I heard you can go on.
But that's just something I had a question on. And thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions this time? None? Okay. If not, seeing none, we need a motion to adjourn our meeting.
I make a
please.
motion.
Motion by Maria, second. By Patty. Do we do a roll call or?
Yeah, all in favor, aye.
All in favor?
No roll call necessary.
Thank you all.
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 Thank you, Amy.